let's talk about why Bitcoin is so awesome. There's actually a million reasons, and I'm just going to start talking about them off the top of my head. All right, so for one, the internet enabled everyone to share information worldwide, but the one thing the internet did not enable was the sharing of value worldwide. Now, that doesn't mean you can't put your credit card in on on the internet on a website and it processes a transaction for you, but the internet is not doing that. The internet is being used by Visa or MasterCard or another company to process transactions. So the internet itself can transfer any information anywhere in the world between any two people or companies or parties, but the only thing the internet can't do is transport physical stuff and transmit value. So probably the coolest thing that Bitcoin does is it does for value what the internet did for information, which is to say you can transmit value anywhere in the world to anyone without anyone being able to stop you, and you can do that. You can do that in a way that they can't copy, which was the big breakthrough of Satoshi Nakamoto and the blockchain that Bitcoin is built on, is the ability to send value that could not be copy and pasted, something digital that could not be copy and pasted. So that makes Bitcoin incredibly valuable and incredibly awesome. But it's more than that. So in addition to being able to send value anywhere in the world instantly, you also can do that in, it's called permissionless, which means it does not require anyone's permission to send value. In fact, it's so permissionless that it's completely unstoppable. When you submit a transaction to the Bitcoin network, there is absolutely nothing in the world that can possibly stop that transaction from going through. It is absolutely positively going to go through, and if you submit a transaction to the Bitcoin network, you're basically guaranteed that the person on the other side is going to receive that value, regardless of who in the middle doesn't like that fact. Now, that is not the way the vast majority of value networks work. In the case of Visa, MasterCard, and things like that, obviously they can, reverse a transaction, block a transaction, cancel a transaction. Banks can freeze your funds. They can put a delay. They can do a clawback. There's just a million ways that the traditional financial system can stop you from transacting value that you want to transact. And that is not the case with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, if you want to move value, transmit value, send value, there's absolutely nothing anyone can do to stop it. So that is super powerful. Bitcoin is also decentralized. So there's no single party or company or person in charge of it, which is incredibly powerful because it means nobody can make more Bitcoin than the hard cap of 21 million, which again makes it incredibly valuable to have something that is provably scarce and not something that anybody can artificially print more of. So that is incredibly valuable. Bitcoin is also, let's recap. It is decentralized, meaning nobody controls it. It is permissionless, meaning nobody can stop you from transmitting value. It is, there's a bunch of adjectives, and I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here. So permissionless, censorship resistant. You can also self-custody it, which is a huge deal. So instead of being dependent on central parties to control Bitcoin, you can use something like Bitkey, Bitkey, the website bitkey.world, bitkey.world. You can use something like Bitkey to self-custody your Bitcoin. And what that means is you control your Bitcoin and nobody else in the world controls your Bitcoin. It means you do not have to trust any company. Now, there are very trustworthy companies like Coinbase and others. Major centralized exchanges are places like Coinbase and Kraken and Robinhood, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. There's numerous organizations that will custody Bitcoin for you, but you don't have to. One of the coolest things about Bitcoin is you don't have to use any of them. You can buy your Bitcoin on those exchanges, and then you can pull it into your own self-custody with something like Bitkey, and then there's absolutely no way you are dependent on any outside third party. So that is also super powerful. Additionally, there's a lot of just fun things about Bitcoin. So for example, I should say not fun, but like just, I guess, technologically super cool. For example, you may have wondered when you send Bitcoin to someone's Bitcoin address, which most people use something like Coinbase to send it to an email address or phone number or something like that. But if you send it to an actual Bitcoin address, it's a long string of characters. I can't remember, somewhere between 20 and 35 characters or something like that. You may have wondered what happens if you type a character wrong. Well, the first thing Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin, did to keep that from happening was he eliminated the uppercase I and the lowercase l and the uppercase O and the number 0. So the 4 characters that you are most likely to mistype or to transpose, or for optical character recognition, like when you copy and paste something out of a photo image, it's using OCR, which is optical character recognition. The most likely characters to get misread by you or a computer will never appear in a Bitcoin address. So that's the first thing Satoshi did, was make sure that the characters that are most likely to get messed up will never appear in a Bitcoin address and therefore can't be messed up. The next thing that Satoshi did was he built what's called a checksum into the Bitcoin address. A checksum is extra digits that are intended to check whether the other digits are accurate. So if you're wondering, even without an O and a 0 and a uppercase, a lowercase l and an uppercase I, even without those characters, what happens if you're trying to send somebody a bunch of Bitcoin and you type something wrong? Well, the probability, first of all, you should do a test transaction, which is if you're transmitting, millions of dollars or billions of dollars of Bitcoin or something like that, obviously you should send like $1 first and make sure it goes through. And that way you're 100% certain that the address is accurate. Although you see sometimes on the Bitcoin network where somebody will send hundreds of millions of dollars of value to another Bitcoin address that's never been used before. So people are so trusting of the Bitcoin network, which is good. People are so trusting that they will send hundreds of millions of dollars to an address that's never been used before. And they just trust that it's going to work. And of course it does. But anyway, for average people like you and me, I would say always do if you're sending a very large amount, do a test transaction of a small amount just to make sure that you didn't mess something up somehow. But one of the coolest things about Bitcoin is that going back to Satoshi built a checksum into it. So a checksum makes sure that the address is correct and you didn't mistype something. So the probability that you could mistype a Bitcoin address and that it would still be a valid address is 1 in 4.3 billion. So let's assume you're just typing and you meant to hit the A, but you hit the S, or you meant to hit the I, but you hit the L, or who knows. Just, you miskeyed one character in a Bitcoin address. The probability that the address you typed is a valid address, even though it's not what you meant to type, the probability of that is 1 in 4.3 billion. Which is the equivalent, the probability of winning the Powerball is like 1 in 200 and some, let's call it 250 million. So your probability, you have a much higher probability of winning the Powerball lottery multiple times in a row than you do of accidentally typing the wrong Bitcoin address. Now, you can absolutely send Bitcoin to the wrong address. If you copy and paste the wrong address to the wrong person, it will send Bitcoin wherever you send it. So that's not what I'm talking about. Obviously, you, just like an email, if you send an email to the wrong person, well, the wrong person's going to get the email. What I'm talking about here is making a mistake. You accidentally sent an email where you mistyped the person's name. So you had the right person, you just typed the wrong address for that person. Again, the probability that you could do that and that the Bitcoin network would actually let you send it is 1 in 4.3 billion, which means it's not impossible to mistype an address and accidentally end up sending Bitcoin to the wrong place, but the probability is literally 4.1 in 4.3 billion, which is statistically impossible that would ever happen. And I've never actually heard of that happening in 15.5 years. I don't think anyone's ever heard of a scenario where anyone has ever attempted to send Bitcoin to an address and then has sent it to the wrong address based on a mistyping. I don't think that's ever happened because the probability, again, is 1 in 4.3 billion. So another thing that makes Bitcoin awesome. You can send it anywhere in the world. Nobody can stop you. You can send value as easily as you can send an email. You can store that value using self-custody with something like Bitkey in a way that nobody can censor it and take it. Let's see. Oh, and there's also just a lot of fun sort of Easter eggs built into Bitcoin. So, for example, Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin, he used, when he put his birthday in on online forums, he used the date and year. He put the year that he was born as, I believe, 1976, which was the year that Americans were re-legalized to own gold. So clearly he was trying to draw a corollary between, gold and Bitcoin, with Bitcoin being sort of a form of digital gold that's way better than gold, because the year of his birthday he chose was the year that Americans, 1976 was the year that Americans were re-legalized in their ability to own gold. Now, you might think, well, that's just 1976. A lot of people were born in 1976. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Well, the day that Satoshi Nakamoto used as his birthday was the day that Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, which is the day that Americans lost their right in 1933 to own gold. So it's interesting. So by choosing the day that Americans were prohibited from owning gold, the day that Executive Order 6102 was signed into law as his birthday, and then using his birth year being the year that Americans were re-legalized to own gold, it's some especially fun sort of Easter eggs that are hidden in Bitcoin. Also, and some of this may be a coincidence, but the Bitcoin network adjusts its difficulty, meaning how hard it is to mine a block based on how many miners are mining. It mines a block it updates that formula every 2016 blocks, 2016. So every 2016 blocks, the Bitcoin network updates its difficulty adjustment, and that difficulty adjustment lasts for another 2016 blocks, which is about 2 weeks. So interestingly enough, of course, the executive order that took away everybody's right to own gold was 6102. So 6102 and 2016 are exact mirrors of each other. So all throughout Bitcoin, the Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator, left all of these little Easter eggs where numbers transpose from 6102 to 2016. They either superimpose to match something about gold, like Executive Order 6102, which was used in reverse, or something about when gold was taken away, which was in on a specific date that he used as his birthday in 1933, or the time that gold was re-legalized in 1976, which he used as his birth year. Now, obviously, nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, which means nobody knows when he was born. Obviously, it's a pseudonym, which means his birthday, his name, everything about him is made up. But it's all made up. In fact, I can't remember off the top of my head, but even the word Satoshi and the word Nakamoto have special meaning in Japanese that have something to do with truth, or I forget what the words mean, but they have some sort of cool meaning that dovetails with all of this. So anyway, all that to say, if somebody had set out to create the absolute world's perfect money, they did it. Like, Bitcoin is literally the world's perfect money. It was invented by a genius that we don't know who it is, which is part of what makes Bitcoin awesome. It's got Easter eggs all through it that dovetail with the concept of digital gold, or Americans' rights to own a self-custody asset like gold, based on Executive Order 6102 and things like that, or the legalization of gold in 1976. And it's got all of these incredible properties, like being censorship resistant, permissionless, pseudonymous, ultra secure, unhackable, based on encryption algorithms that are far exceed what anything else could possibly be in the world. And the total number of Bitcoin addresses is equivalent to the number of atoms in the known universe, which once again is just like an amazingly large number, and all of that. So for a million different reasons, Bitcoin is just the coolest thing ever. Technologically, economically, I mean, everything about it, the more you study, the more you're like, I cannot believe this, which again is similar to people's first experience with the internet, where they're like, this is insane. Like, the stuff you can do on the internet is crazy. Now, we don't think about it that way because we have the internet, and it's been 20 years since we all started using the internet, and it just, it just makes sense. But if you remember, when people first started using the internet, it was insanely amazing that you could do this thing, just like the very first time people used a cell phone with no wire attached. And Bitcoin's the same way. It's this incredible, incredible technology that the more you dig into it for the first time, the more you think, I cannot believe this actually got created in the world. This is totally amazing in every way. So there's a bunch more reasons that Bitcoin is amazing, but those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head this morning as I was walking around. Enjoy.